Howdy, boys. Figured I'd share with you what in the world's going on in the trucking industry. Now, I ain't God and I ain't a genius, but I do have a little over 10 years of experience in the logistics world, so keep in mind I've got into it one of the hardest times of American history. Well, one of them, not the most hardest, but in '08 is when it all started for me. I got into logistics in '08. And then '09 I got into big rig trucking, like 18-wheelers. And a lot of you guys know me is by the hot shotting world, but I started out with courier service, which is logistics. And then I started 18-wheelers, the reefer division of it. You know, it's an 18-wheeler with a box and it has an engine on there. Either it cools the product or heats the product. And then hot shotting. If you don't know hot shotting, Google hot shotting and you'll come across just a simple explanation. If not, you could go into my own videos and search for a video that says something about hot shotting and you'll figure it out. But anyways, the two major ones that I can talk about and the ones I have a lot of experience in, I could say, is the reefer division. As I said, reefer is the 18-wheelers. Then hot shotting is 1-ton pickups, the goosenecks. So what is really going on, guys? Keep in mind, I started in a very hard time. A lot of companies were shutting down. I was opening up, and it was pretty cringy when an older gal that I looked up to, she was very successful with her husband in the, well, I think they were very successful back then in the business of, not logistics. They were in construction or something about building homes, something in that neck of the woods. They're like, "Oh, Paul, what are you, genius? You're the smartest one out here. Everybody's shutting down. You're opening up. You should really reconsider." I'm like, I see what you're saying, but I'm still going to open up. So, when I opened up my company, it was really rough. I mean, the rates were really cheap, and there wasn't much meat left on that bone end of the day. And keep in mind, guys, I started from nothing. What I mean from nothing is one day I came home because I lost my contract with a bank. I was doing all their courier service for a little while. They found out my age and they pretty much booted my contract, and by doing so they tripled the workload. Well, that's the offer they put on the table. They tripled the workload and upped the pay 1.5 times. And if I was gonna buy that bigger vehicle, if I was gonna pay the fuel, I was not gonna make more money, even though it required a lot more time, which it was a no-brainer. It took me a sec to figure out what is going on here. It doesn't make any logical sense. So I came home upset. My father came home upset. He was getting ripped off by a local company. He just bought his big rig with his reefer behind it, and nothing was working out. Well, I couldn't say nothing, but he was really getting ripped off by that local company. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, if I open my trucking, would you join?" And he said yes. Why I'm telling you guys also, you get the backstory. You know where I'm coming from. I mean, it's not just Daddy had a trucking company and handed it to his son. No, it didn't go that way. My dad had 2 months worth of trucking experience when he decided to leave that company that was ripping him off and go with his son. Pretty much when I offered my dad, "Hey, will you join me?" He's like, "Yeah, I know it's going to be hard. I know I'm not going to be making the top dollar, but what does it matter when I'm getting juked left or right?" And dude, it's sad, like he'd be offered a load, and by the time he delivers that load has 3 different prices on it, and it's like, seriously? It's simple. And the way the company works, they would call you, offer the load, and you say yes or no, and you say yes, they agree to the load, they put you in your file, and they put you on the load, and off you go. But by the time you deliver, that rate changes, and it's really disappointing. So he went on with me. He was my first guy. Started loading. A month later, I bought me a semi, and off we went. So we started in a very rough time. So my dad has had his own equipment. That's as much as my dad had to do with the company. He's the first driver I started loading. He's the first owner-operator. He's the first truck I had in the fleet. And a month later, I bought my own equipment. So my dad never dictated or anything to do with my company. I did it all on myself. What I mean I did it all myself is I was responsible for everything by myself with the help of others as far as building the company. So to make that clear, my dad has never dropped me or left my side, and he's always been productive. As a father and son, things get a little confusing at times, if we could say that. My dad demands stuff, and I'm like, nope, ain't happening, and but we have a healthy relationship. You know, within the 6 months, we settle that down. So what does this have to do anything with the trucking, Paul? Sounds like a personal story. Well, I don't want to be the guy that comes on here, tells you all the shebang, and disappears. So you guys got to know the backstory. You guys got to know where the frick I came from and how I built it all. So with the help of reliable people, I underlined reliable people, I got me a truck, and then I got me another truck, and they did me well. I did them well. The first driver I had in my truck had a family issue where he needed to be home. I'm not going to get into details about that. And then another guy that was second driver, he wanted to get his own equipment and do local/regional, and he ended up doing local containers. So that worked out well for him. Excuse me, I'm talking while my throat's getting dry. So to compare when I was starting and how I started, you know, for the last 6 months, it's been fairly close. Not as bad. I'm not going to say it's equal, but it hasn't been far from that. By the time I made this video, I've been meaning to make this video for a while. You know, rates have been picking up pretty steady and pretty positively, but for a guy watching from the outside or a newbie, he's gonna be like, what in the world's going on? This is a bunch of junk. Guys, this is much needed. Guys, did you hear that? The way this tranny just upshifted, that was disappointing. So what's going on, guys, is a process. It's a cleansing process in the trucking industry, is what it really is. Everything went down, rates went down, and all the quick grabbing cash people that just jumped in trucking to make a quick buck and nothing long term are right out of there. You know what I mean? I underline nothing long term, and that's what it happens to be. A lot of guys close the doors. I am not gonna put and point fingers at other trucking companies. I'm not going to mention any. I know some of them had no intent to do so, but it hit them too fast, too quick. So that's that. You know, I'll just leave it at that. But those guys that are quick in, they're just quick out. They're done. That's why you'll see a lot of equipment. If you're part of forums, you'll see a lot of equipment up for sale, and guys are hurting. And I myself felt it pretty hard and pretty quick. I have a story. I don't know if I'll ever share it. It's really personal, but on the business side of how hard things were, I had a parallel story that was even harder for me. It's a personal story. I don't know, man. It just really upsets me even thinking about it. And that's what I was asking you guys to pray for me, my regular. I'm past that, thank God. God has been good to me, and we're past that. We're kicking butt in both spheres, you know, or atmospheres or worlds, whatever you want to label them. But that personal side is completely gone. Praise the Lord and bless the individual. And then the business side, praise God and bless him. God bless America. You know, rates are up, but that's a lot easier for me to handle than the personal side. So, you know, it's just, life will test you. Everything's gonna be good, and then you go up against the wall, and you're spinning all fours. You know what I mean? You're holding that throttle down. You're spinning all fours, and you will break through, guys. If you're out there, you're freaking out. All I gotta ask you is, what in the world do you want? If you want trucking and you love trucking, stay the heck in trucking, because trucking one day could make you broke, and next day could make you some solid money. So it comes to commitment, y'all gonna scream, and that's what it always takes. It takes some serious commitment in trucking, because trucking is a rough ride, man. There's money to be made, but it will clean you clear real quick. You could go downhill real quick and really fast. So what am I trying to say? This is normal. This is good for the industry. Those quick cash, cheap freight movers, whatever you want to call them, they're out. They're gone. There's not much left of them, and it doesn't take a lot of time to clean them out either. So God bless America once again. Rates are going back up. Rates are going good. As far as we're seeing it, luckily we have a lot of direct customers for us. That's what really saved us in the downtime. I'm not gonna blow any numbers out there, boast on any numbers, but the regular customers are the ones that kept me afloat. Regular customers are the ones that kept the bills paid. For the most part. I mean, of course, there's decent brokers out there that didn't really, and in a lot of cases, didn't really ride the wave as much as others. Some of them really took it hard and rode it hard, but then at the flip side of things, you know what I mean? The industry's doing its thing, but if you got people next to you through the hard times, those are the keepers, you know? Be fair with yourself, be fair with others, you know what I mean? And I said first, be fair with yourself, and then be fair with others. Someone will come in screaming and swinging and preaching about stuff, but them themselves can't even be fair with themselves. And then they want to be fair with others. Yeah, you can bury that one. So anyways, not to go too far into detail, like as I started to go into, but regular customers is what's going to keep us steady. And that's why the industry's doing what it's doing. It has to do it. It's a cleansing process, just like pruning trees, and just like you yourself, you know, sometimes you got to go on a diet to cleanse your body. I know you want to eat that steak, but you got to go cleanse your body, and that's what you do, you know. You go salads or whatever you got to do. So a cleansing process is a must, and there's nothing wrong with it. So to answer the question of what is going on with, as far as I can tell, reefers and hot shots, it's a cleaning process. It's very much needed, because that's what happens. The industry gets saturated and it throws people off, and then it gets saturated, throws people off, and that's how it keeps it steady. But keep this in mind. Let's just say take the standard and graph this. The standard's 0. Keep this in mind. As hard as it goes below 0, meaning in the negatives, that's just as hard it needs to go into the positives just to come at 0, correct? Right? If you do your math right, that's what it takes. That's what the industry's going to do. The harder it dips down, the harder it has to come back up. And, you know, if you're there, if you're the guy that is full on customers, you won't feel the downs, you won't feel the ups. If you're the guy solely off the load board and riding the industry, riding the wave with the industry's doing it, and any way you spin it's still going to affect you. Because you'll have some customers that'll drop off and be like, well, she could do it at this price. And you're like, all right, well, have them do it. You know what I mean? And I will throw numbers out there, just so you guys can compare. You know, there's times you gotta haul freight for $1 a mile just because that's what it takes. And I'm underlining that's what it takes to get out of that area. I'm not saying that's what it takes to run weeks on end. I'm not saying that's what it takes to stay afloat. No. That's part of the process, you know what I mean? But here's the thing. You got to understand the way the process works. You know what I mean? The guy could do $1 a mile just to get out of the area, but he needs to average well over that to stay in the game, you know what I mean? Just the way it is. When you're doing quotes, boys, for you guys running your own show, shoot healthy, shoot fair, and I'm talking about rates, you know what I mean? I had a guy that called me 2 weeks ago, and I'll share it. I'm not going to expose any names out here. You know, he's like, hey, I got this. I know you're doing hot shotting. You guys hauled for me before. I just need this thing moved for 200 miles. I'm like, for you, it's 200. For us, it's 350 because we're based out of, you know, Spokane, and where you're based out of, that means I have to deadhead a guy out there and move your freight where you need to move it, you know. So for you, it's this. For us, it's that. So it's going to have to be, I think it was about a couple hundred miles. So from load to drop, it was a couple hundred miles. It was a small little partial he moved. And I told him it's $8. That's what it's going to take. So that's when he brought up the mileage. I said, listen, I'm coming from Spokane. So if I tell you I'm going to do this, this means I'm going to do this. Worst comes to worst, I need to run this load. You know, I got my numbers at this. Most likely there's something else going to go on. He's like, oh, well, can't you find something else, throw it on, and then grab mine? I'm like, well, you're not really giving me a month to pick this up now, are you? He's like, well, no, I need it picked up in a couple days, within a couple days. So I told him $800, so that's $4 a mile, right? If I'm doing my math right. 200 miles at, you know, $4 a mile. I hope I got my math right. That's $4 a mile. Well, that ain't fair. Well, shoot, if it's not fair, then I ain't putting a gun in your head and go find someone else. You know, I'm looking for reliability and consistency. When your butt's out there, building something, you know, this guy is into steel. When he's out there building structures and he's missing a couple beams, who cares about the $800 when he has a crew just standing around? Well, guess what? The guy calls him back. Oh, that ain't ready. I'll have to call you back later. So he calls him back later. He's like, hey, do you have a guy in the area? I'm like, I don't know if I got a guy in the area, but what do you need, you know? He's like, oh, I need the same, you know, piece moved. I honestly thought he moved it with someone else. I'm like, yeah, I got a guy nearby. He's like, oh, what are you going to have to do? And I told him, he's like, well, you said you're going to run out of Spokane. I'm like, no, I just gave you a rate because that's most likely what it would take. But lucky me, I have a guy nearby, so take it or leave it kind of deal. If you need it, I have a guy in there. You'll be there within the hour. Yeah, I'll take it. So what am I trying to underline here? Not that I'm cocky, not that I'm like this or that, not that I'm so cool or so dumb. I'm just telling you, you want to build relationships with guys that want to build relationships, you know? And sometimes when they question you or whatever the deal might be, they question what you're doing, stay firm. Be a true believer. And end of the day, you will always win. I'm not saying be dumb and arrogant. No, I'm just saying know your stuff. That when you are quoting a guy $4 a mile, you know exactly why you're quoting him $4 a mile. And when you need to quote him $1 a mile, you know exactly what you need to, why you're quoting him that $1 a mile. You follow along, guys? That's all I'm trying to say. I guess this video is mostly for those boys that are fairly new in this game and they're confused what's going on with trucking. But anyways, boys, I gotta wrap up my video. Hopefully I'll follow up in another one with this, and may the Lord bless you. May you all have a mighty fine day, and thanks for the regulars. God bless. Bye.